afternoon, everybody. Thank you for attending Oasis Solutions NetSuite Tips and Tricks webinar. I am Michael Drury, a partner at Oasis, and I'll be conducting our session today. So we do hope that you find the next 20 to 30 minutes worthwhile and you will benefit from our session. So a few housekeeping items for us today. So all attendees, you are set to mute throughout the presentation. If you do have any issues connecting, viewing, or hearing the presentation, please use the chat or questions box from the GoToWebinar screen. And timing permitting, we will answer any questions relating to any of the tips and tricks we've covered today. Additionally, the recording and slides will be sent out following the webinar. So, what's in store for us today? So we have several topics provided by our staff as well as some from our customers that help to contribute to our list for today. The main topics we are going to cover is the suite analytics, adding a custom chart to your dashboard, adding custom fields to a customer, ways to maximize the use of the global search, learn keyboard shortcuts to help you save time and to make you more efficient, and some additional tips. And toward the end, we'll wrap up and hopefully have some time for any of the Q&A for some of the covered tips and tricks today. Okay. A second here. Okay, so I'm already logged into NetSuite. One of the things we want to start off with first is to talk a little bit about the suite analytics. It's one of the newest features with NetSuite. So recently, we had a customer come to us asking to be able to visualize a specific set of customers and their sales over a period of time. And they wanted to see that on their dashboard rather than viewing it on a report. So with Suite Analytics, we were able to create a chart that gives them the ability to show their current quarter sales. So the first thing that we wanted to do is to create a custom field on the customer record to indicate that they are a top customer. I've got a tab here open here for my customer. And the first thing that I'll do is that I will go up to the top right to the Customize and choose the option here for a new field. So this will take us to another page where we can put in the information relating to our top customer. You give it a little description. And we have several different types of custom fields that we can add. Most common are going to be a free form text. We can do a list, okay, phone numbers. Okay. But what we want to do in this case is that we want to do a checkbox to indicate that it is a top customer. Another thing we'd like to do is to show it in our list. So when we do a list of our customers, we'll see that. We want to make sure it is also applied to our customer record. And then on the display, I want this to be on the main subtab of my data entry screen. And then I save it. Okay. I'm going to go back to my customer and go back to edit. And what we'll see there is that we'll have a new field or new checkbox for our top customer. And then I can come in and actually click on the checkbox, and that will indicate that it is a top customer for us. And then I can save that. I can place that field in any section on the main tab. Okay, so I'll just leave it here for now. When I go to my customers list, okay, I want to show a list of all of my top customers. Let me refresh this here. I'm going to edit my view, and I'm going to find that checkbox for our top customers. So the field that I just created, I'm going to add this. And we'll just move it over here to the top, and we'll save this. And from my list, I can actually go through and click on the checkbox for each one of these and mark these as top customers. Okay. The next thing I want to do is go to the analytics so I can create my new workbook. Click on the option here for a new workbook. I'm going to search on a record type, transaction. I want to combine all of the invoices that I have for my customers. The first tab is our criteria. This is where I basically will drag and drop the fields that I want to do to filter through my data. First thing I want to choose is type. So through the search, I can find the field type, click, drag the field up to the top. Select the invoice type, click OK. Okay. Now the type is of invoice. Next thing I want is going to be date. So I want to be able to put in a specific date range. Same thing, click and drag. I'm going to choose a date range, and I'm going to do this based off on a quarterly basis. Scroll down, kind of filter through just the quarters, do this fiscal quarter to date. The next thing I want to do is to indicate that this is my top customers. So what I would have to do is actually join or add the customer record to my workbook. Let's see, here's entity, there's customer. I click on this, and now I have all the fields available for my customers. Okay, I'm going to do a search for top customer. There it is. Click. I'm going to drag that over. I'm going to say yes. Click OK. Okay. And I'm now finished with the criteria. When I click on the data, it will refresh and look at all transactions that meet that criteria, where it's a type of invoice, date within this fiscal quarter to date, and for my customer record, it is set to a top customer. Next, I will add a chart to my workbook. So click on that option here to add a chart. On the left side, we'll see the fields that we have available. On the x-axis, I want to choose my entity, which is my customer. As far as the series is going to be based off the date. By default, it sets the year. So with the three little buttons here, I could click, and I want to look at this based off the date hierarchy of quarter. And I want to look at my total transaction amount as my measure. Just clicking and dragging, dropping, and now I've got a chart. I'm looking at very specific customers based upon the criteria that I've selected. The top left is where I can save the workbook. Okay. And then, let's see, call it top customers this quarter. And I can apply, save. If I want to share this to other employees, roles, I would be able to share the workbook as well. My next step, to add this to my dashboard, I would want to personalize my dashboard. Find the Analytics portlet. Go to the Setup. And there's my top customers this quarter, chart 1. I have a couple of different options as far as the heights. Save this, and now my chart is on my dashboard. So as transactions are posted to these customers, as far as the invoices this quarter, this will continuously refresh for us. Again, it's based off the criteria, invoice, this quarter, and our top customers. That's a quick example of creating a custom workbook and chart and adding that to your dashboard. Next thing I want to switch over to is to talk a little bit about alerts. So one rarely known feature of NetSuite is the ability to have NetSuite email you alerts from your dashboard on a daily basis. Under your Home, Set Preferences, this is where we can update our alerts. And alerts basically can be emailed up to 3 different time selections throughout the day. Okay, if you just want to see it on a day, just once a day, then you can just enter a time for that. You can also include links in the HTML alerts. Okay, you can also send an on-demand alert by checking this box. Okay, and then sending an email to alerts@alerts.netsuite.com. Hopefully I said that right. So just clicking on the help tells you as well. So you can send you send an email from your Outlook to this email address. As long as you have this checked, then you can get an on-demand update of your dashboard and alerts. You can also click on the Here link, and it will send you a test email that will give you your alerts. So let me show you that real quick, what something like that would look like. If you recall, from my dashboard, I had several reminders, and these are all the hyperlinks to some of my reminders, my KPIs, and my task, looking at top 5 items, my quantity sold, and my purchases. So it's the email that you actually will get. Again, it's just going to be based on what data you do have on your dashboard. Again, reminders, KPIs, okay, and some other graphs. Okay. So again, from the email, you can click on the links. It will open up NetSuite and take you to the underlying reports or data. Next up, let's explore more options to maximize search in a global search. Okay. So in our global search, you can type in, as a lot of you probably are aware, some of either a customer's name, vendor's name, an inventory item, a transaction number. So we're going to kind of go through some additional options we have here for this. And just type in Oasis. It will look through the entire database for customers, contacts, employees. Anything that is related to that has the word Oasis in it. If I just type a C and a colon, it will look up any of those records that begin with a C, in this case a customer or a contact. If I just want to look for customers, I type in a CU, and it's going to restrict this down to the actual customer. Okay, hold on one second. So the prefix here that we see listed here are an example of what you can use to do your search. So if you're looking for a cash sale, an estimate, an item, an invoice, then you could type for an invoice, you could type IN, INV, and then a colon. These are some of the prefixes that you can use. If you're looking for a specific bill or bill payment from a vendor, you type in the word bill in the global search, and then you'll be able to access that. So the other thing that you should also notice is that when you do select or come down to the actual customer record, if you click on the customer, it will take you to where you can view the customer record. You can go to the edit or go to the customer's dashboard. Those are kind of the 3 different options you have, again, for customers and vendors, being able to view or edit. And you'll see all of the information related to that customer. Some of the other things that we have with our global search is special characters that can be used. We'll go through the example of those here. So using the percent, which is a wildcard. So if I'm looking for a particular bill from a vendor, like BI, or to spell out bill, and I know it begins with an 88 and then hit a percent. So you can see now that I have two different bills. So if I'm looking for the one 88765, I can select it from here. Okay. You also see that we have a bill payment. That's basically your check number. Okay. We're looking for invoices using that wildcard. Either we can put it, again, before or after the transaction. Now it's looking at all of our invoices that begin with the 21. So it's a quick way of kind of narrowing it down to if you don't have the exact invoice number, and being able to kind of quickly find that information. Another thing here is looking at inactive records. So if you ever have like an employee that's in your database, I've got one here that is a Martin Stevens. He's an inactive employee. So if I just do a typical search, I'm not going to find them. But if I want to see that record, I add a plus sign, and now you can see that Martin Stevens does show up, and he is inactive. So if you want to see inactive records, customers, vendors, employees, add a plus sign at the end, and you'll be able to search through that. Using quotes will allow you to do an exact match. So if I'm looking for a customer, there's one, double quotes, sorry. And then it will search through the database, again, looking for an exact match. With dropping out the extra 0 or O, it does not find that. So using the quotes will expect you to find an exact match for that. We can use OR to search for multiple, whether it's a customer, again, a vendor, transactions. In this example, OR must be capitalized. You can see now it's looking at a couple of different companies as far as both of those using the OR. Okay. Again, OR must be in caps in order for that to work. The other thing we can do from this, if we use, let's say if we're doing, looking just anything that has Oasis in it, if you use a double colon and then type in a word and press enter, it will open up in a new page for this search result. And anything that has Oasis associated with it, contacts, customers, employees, vendors. Okay. So let's move on to look at some keyboard shortcuts. To get to the global search, when you're in NetSuite, you can choose the keyboard command Alt-G, and then it'll take you up to the global search where you can start doing your search. So again, that's going to be an Alt and a G. When you have multiple tabs open of NetSuite, just a typical browser function is using Control and Tab to move through the different tabs that you do have. So it's holding Control down and then hitting Tab to move between your browser tabs. If you hold Control down and click on any link, okay, so whether we choose Edit or View, it will open up a new tab for you as well. For that particular, in this case, it's pulling up my customer. Okay. Some additional keyboard commands come into play when we're looking at date fields. Okay. So do a Shift and T. That brings up the date for tomorrow. Notice it went from 21 to 22. If I type a lowercase l, it pulls up or adds in the end of the previous period. Lowercase t in that field will bring up today's date. Lowercase y will be yesterday. And m is the last day of the month. Hold on a sec. Oh, I didn't add that in there. Okay. And then from the field, you can hit a minus or a plus to change it one day or the next. Okay. So those are some of the data entry dates options that we have. Again, a shift to T is tomorrow. L is end of previous period. M is the last day of the current month. Y is yesterday. T is today. Okay. Find a report. Okay, so we've got a custom report here, but a couple of things I want to kind of point out from here, some of the tips that some of our customers really use a lot. Okay, first of all, when you're on a report, depending on the length of it, but if you do a page down, it goes down next page. So if you have multiple pages, continuously hitting page down will take you there. Page up will take you back up a page. There is an option for, let's see, when you click on end on your keyboard, it goes to the end of the report. And you choose home and it goes to the top of the report. On the report dates, there's quick filters here. Whether when you're looking at the available selections here, if you're wanting to look at it based off period, it will filter through this list and just showing those that have the word period in that. Or if you're looking for year, anything related to a year. Those are quick filters that are available. Additionally, you can add favorites that you can use throughout all of the reports. So I've made favorites for this fiscal year or this period. But to add one of these to your favorites, you can see that as I'm kind of scrolling up and down, there's a little star. So if I choose last fiscal year, and I come back up here at the top, you can see that it's been added to my favorites. It's a quick way of choosing a period or date range without having to go through and actually manually change the dates here. Okay. Some options that you do have. Okay. I've got some clients that like to see their reports in a grid. So especially when you have a lot more columns, this is one of the kind of another view that you may have. If you prefer it just to be plain, you can do that as well. With a click of one button, you can collapse everything. And then with the next button, it starts expanding throughout all the different groupings that you have for a report. And if you want to see a quick graph of looking at as far as what accounts and sections that we have on this report, looking at a bar graph or a pie chart. You can always schedule reports. I know we have a lot of our customers that are starting to use this, especially when they have users or they have employees that aren't users of NetSuite and they need a specific report. And we can go through here, tell it when we want to start it, whether it's a weekly, monthly report, and then we put in who the recipients are. Okay. And then it will be a scheduled report. And for some of our new NetSuite customers, on our financial reports, we can change our columns where we can look at it based upon different classifications or an accounting period, refresh, and now we'll be able to see, in this case, a report from January through December. Oh, it helps if I refresh it. And we also have filters where you can filter through based upon any of the classifications, locations that we have, or departments, and being able to modify or restrict what we see on a particular report at that point. Okay. Now, for purchase orders, this is something that has come up with some of our clients recently, is that they want to be able to see a specific order when they have both items and expenses on purchase orders that are available. So we had one that actually wanted to see items first in the sublist. So to do so, we just go up to customize our form, and let's leave. Go to our sublist tab. This is ready. You can see here our items and expenses. All I gotta do is click items, drag it up, save it, and then next time I go into purchase orders, items will be listed first. Okay, real quick way of making some changes there, just so that we can see the items first rather than expenses. Okay. All right, so one of the last things I have on my list here is to look or to show you the quick search portlet. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to personalize. I'm going to make sure I've got my quick search available. Okay. So this is a pretty good search tool, very similar to like the global search and using some of the wildcards as like the percent sign. But what we have the ability here to do is to search on a variety of fields, whether it's customer, a vendor. You can put in a phone number, a zip code, okay, a document number, okay. So let me go through a couple of examples here with the customer. Just put in Oasis, which we love. Go to search, and it'll bring up the customer there as it relates to Oasis. Okay. In another example here, I'm going to choose a vendor in my quick search. And I know they have the name system in it. I'm going to do a search, and it's going to be pulling in anything that has system in the name. I mentioned earlier we can do this also by, you can put in a zip code. Okay. We can also put in or enter in a PO or a check number. There's a field here for that. I think I might have passed it up. Nope, there it is. Okay. So on a sales order form, you enter in a PO number for the for the customer. If they call in asking about that PO number, you can go through your quick search. Let's say if it's I think 88 and a percent. I think it's, no, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is our PO number. We can do a search, and then it's going to look through the database and find the actual sales order that actually has that particular PO number. The same thing with the check number. You know, any of your customers' payments and their check numbers entered in there, you would be able to search through that. Okay. You can also search for documents in your file cabinet. So if you are storing, let's say, invoices or any other kind of documents, then we can actually search for that as well. So I've got some logos in here that I want to find in my file cabinet. Choose the option for document. You can search for that. Okay. So that's everything I wanted to kind of go through here real quick here for our tips and tricks for today. Just to kind of recap, what we've looked at is we've gone through the Suite Analytics, where we added a chart to our dashboard. We added a custom field to our customer record, where for our top customers. Give you some examples of ways to maximize your global search, and using some of the special characters to help find your transactions or your customers or vendors. We talked a little bit about some of the keyboard shortcuts, gave some additional tips on the reports, customize a sublist, and going through the quick search portlet. Global or quick search option for a dollar amount? That's a good question. I know there was a question. There's like document numbers, transaction numbers, but not necessarily for a specific amount. Not through here. Unless it's a field that is a custom field that is set for a global search. When we're setting up the custom field, but don't see an option here for an amount.
Okay, guys, this is Helena Callahan, Marketing Manager with Oasis Solutions. I don't see any other questions out there today, so with that, I think that we're going to go ahead and wrap up the webinar. There will be a recording going out tomorrow, so you can have another chance to review this or share with any colleagues that were unable to join us today. If you have any other questions, feel free to respond to that email, and I'm sure that Michael will be happy to follow up with you. Have a great day.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Bye.